Hey folks, this is Don from E Street Studio, and I've got a Workbench update. I haven't done one of these for a while, a couple years I think. But on the Workbench today is my Fractal Forest 2 collection. It's the Kickstarter I have going right now for a bunch of FDM friendly 3D printable plants and terrain. And I've been wanting to give everybody a closer look at them since last week, but I've just been kind of busy. So I finally got some time today. I got the AC off and I got a ton of gray plastic on the desk. So let's have a look at it. I'm really looking forward to painting some of this stuff. Maybe I can make some time tonight to start. This first set called the Fractal Tours. They're like some big line of sight blocking pieces that could break up the battlefield. And these are all 3D fractal shapes that were all three created from the same set of formula with just different values and different tweaks to the setup. And they all have these clashing patterns of fractal detail. And I thought it'd be fun to print these maybe in like a crystal pattern or some glow effect, especially here on this inner surface one. It'd be fun for some amethyst crystals or glowing thing inside these crevices. And in this case, the layer lines on these just kind of fade into the pattern, so they're not really that much of an issue. Here's another big set, kind of the centerpieces from the collection, I guess. These things will look big printed, look great printed even bigger. So many details, and again they have these clashing patterns that would lend themselves to different color schemes for each different set of patterns. And I like how this one blocks the line of sight this way, but there's a big split, the flux chasm down the middle. Where'd that thing go? Oh yeah, I do have a bigger one that I printed out just as an experiment. I did just a quick split in the bamboo slicer, and it turned out great. There's plenty of detail on all these models to print them basically as big as you want, and a lot of them, most of them will print quite small too. Even like this Lacuna Cave or any of these fractal terrain pieces, you can print as small as you want. And because of the fractal nature of the patterns, some of them survive the transition and you still get a nice contrast between the different areas. This one's called Lacuna Cave. Kind of an anatomical looking skull thing. This is kind of a one-off because I only made one version of it when I found it in Mandelbulb 3, and then I lost track of the parameters. I wish I had them. Can't find it again. Lost in the fractal multiverse. And one more set of big chunky terrain. This one's called the Peacock Mesas. Again, a set all derived from the same formulas in this group. I'm definitely going to paint some sort of rainbow or peacock effect on these swirly parts up here. Put that there to show where the limit is. And now some of the plants. These are probably my favorite ones. We call them the torque spires. All these plants, well, I guess you could say that these are terrain. I'm not sure what these are. I call them the Menger Mounds for the campaign, and these are created with the same kind of fractal math. I was calling them nanomite mounds before I finalized all the names, and but that seemed a little too sci-fi, and I like to leave it kind of open to interpretation. So these also print without supports if you want. In the 3MFs included with the campaign, I have the supports turned on, and there's a few little supports on some of these larger overhangs, but it'll print without supports and they look pretty good. I left the supports on because it just makes for a little cleaner. And the supports with the new settings I'm using for the supports, they come off so easily, especially when there's just a few, that it really doesn't matter too much to me anyway. So there's 9 of those Menger mounds. Menger was a famous fractal mathematician. These I really like as well, these mega wheat. I started out printing these a little smaller, but I thought they looked a little better in a larger scale. This is about as small as you would want to print these Menger, these mega wheats. Otherwise the stocks get a little too thin to be reliable. Although when one breaks, you can just glue it back on and act like it fell down in nature, you know. It makes it look more real. Here's another example of some of the scales I was talking about. Like here's a giant torque spire. Kind of a small one. And then I don't know if you can see this one. It's just a tiny little black. It's not primed, but even an FDM you can get pretty small and get some pretty small details with these new printers. So yeah, I was going to say about that NG plant, the software I use to make these plants. It kind of uses a lot of the same rules that Mother Nature does, or it simulates a few of them. So it makes it kind of easy to make plants that look like they could exist in nature, and gives them a little more of an air of realism, even though they're crazy fantasy plants, which is something I really enjoy. I like coming up with crazy what-if plants. And NG Plant is the best tool I've seen for it. It's a free open source, kind of old tool, but it's still one of the best ones that I've used. These I called sorrel stems. Kind of a riff on a fern idea, but instead of the fern, it's the spores from underneath the plant that have grown into a flower. That's what the sorrel refers to. And there's some also included that have no flower coming out also. Maybe some sort of gradient color used on these, or picking out the individual kernels. Although I think that's what I'm going to do with these mega wheat, is do color variations on each kernel, like some of the stained glass candy corn on the cob I've seen. These are bigger, so it'll be more obvious and more interesting than if I did it on these sorrel stems. Sorry, I'm trying to keep in camera. I got a weird setup going on. What else haven't I showed? Oh, yeah, the coral brush. These look very aquatic, but they turned out really cool and I wanted to use them, so you can use them maybe in an underwater theme, or just use them as some fancy plant. A lot of cool details, easy to print. And pretty sure there's something else I haven't shown. Oh yeah, this was a last minute addition, this voxel bloom. It's something I made quite a while ago, but I never released it anywhere. And then I wanted to use I have a really nice video that shows how I make these fractal shapes. This is another 3D fractal shape. So I wanted to include the video in the campaign, and I figured, oh, we might as well put the model too. So this one needs a little bit trickier supports than some of the others, but they do stop here. You don't need supports up this longer piece, so you won't get hours into the print and have it fail because of the supports. It's still pretty easy supports, and very little scarring or anything down here. And this one comes in 3 stages, like some of the others. The bud and the growing and the blooming, and the sorrel stems also do that, and the coral brush. So yeah, that's a lot of babbling about my stuff. I hope that helps you get a better idea of how these things actually look, and how big they are, and what they might look like on your table. I'll try my best to get a few of these painted up before the end of the campaign, so that you can also see some color ideas. It's kind of an overwhelming amount of gray right now. But thanks for watching. Thanks for your support on the campaign, and I'll see you next time on my workbench.